Hey guys, Andy from Estella's Revenge. I mentioned in my previous reading update video that I finished a book this week called Medium Raw, A Bloody Valentine to the World of Food and the People Who Cook by Anthony Bourdain, and I really enjoyed this, so I thought I would go ahead and do a full review of it. I've mentioned on this channel that I am a huge sucker for food writing. I've reviewed another book here about food called The Whole Fromage, about French cheese. And so this is maybe the first foodie book I've read since then. It's been a few months. But I, first of all, love Anthony Bourdain. He is the snarkiest, funniest, most sarcastic person on the face of the earth. And that's really where he got his start. He was a line cook and chef in New York restaurants for 28 years before he got his start in TV and things like that. He wrote two unsuccessful, I think, mystery novels, perhaps? Mystery or thrillers? Spy thrillers? I can't remember. But when he wrote Kitchen Confidential, which really blew the roof off the food industry and really exposed what it meant to be an everyday chef or cook, as opposed to a celebrity chef, that's when he really took off. And Kitchen Confidential was full of piss and vinegar. Like, he was mad at the world. You know, he had been a drug addict, he had drank a lot, he had a horrible marriage, he had a rough life. And so the difference, I guess, between Kitchen Confidential and this book is that he's in a very different place by now. Kitchen Confidential probably came out 15 years ago, and now he's happily married, he has a daughter, he stopped smoking, he takes better care of his health. He still has a lot of attitude about food and the culinary world in general. And so that snarkiness and that attitude and that perspective still really come through in Medium Raw. So I was really pleased with it. I wasn't sure if Tony has gone soft, but he really hasn't. This book was just as full of attitude and perspective as Kitchen Confidential, but I felt that in his age and wisdom, perhaps he was even more honest than he was in Kitchen Confidential. So I wouldn't say he took things back that he wrote in Kitchen Confidential, but he kind of reflected on what it meant and where he was in his life when he wrote that book, and he added to it with accounts of things that apply to him now. So some of my very favorite chapters or essays from this book. One spotlighted a cook in Manhattan who works for a very successful seafood restaurant, and he is from the Dominican Republic. And basically it's just kind of an essay about what this man does every day. He starts cleaning hundreds and hundreds of pounds of fish. I want to say like 700 pounds of fish at 5 or 6 a.m. I mean, just incredibly early, and he's done by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's just kind of talking about the kind of routine that one establishes when you cook professionally, the art that it takes, the real, I mean, it really is, it's an art, it's a culinary art. And so Tony kind of revered this guy and his ability to do a better job at it than anybody, because this restaurant is the tip of the top as far as multiple Michelin star restaurants, and this one seafood in particular. And so it's just really interesting to go through, because that's such a different experience, obviously, from anything I do, that one can make a really fantastic living being the fish guy. So the technique was fascinating. The man himself was fascinating. I just thought that was a great essay. Another really interesting and entertaining essay was one where he basically went through and categorized some of the big names from the culinary industry as heroes or villains based on their stance on different things, their approach to food, their approach to media, and things like that. That was one of the snarkier essays. He did some that were kind of retrospective to his life, looking back at his drug-addled, crazy days in comparison to now. He did a show on No Reservations where he went back to the restaurant where he worked for many years and tried to work through on the line the dinner service that he would have worked before many years ago, and he made it, but he pointed out, you know, how one ages in the food industry, how age really affects your abilities as a chef and as a line cook. And so, yeah, I just really enjoyed this book overall. The essays, there's such a wide variety. There was even one where he talked about food porn, and he kind of made a connection between food and sex. And that's not new, but Anthony Bourdain is hilarious and such a good writer. I think that's what people don't expect, is that because he's a food guy and because he was a professional chef for so long, they don't expect him to be as good of a writer as he is. He's not all attitude. It's not all flash. He's very well read. You can tell from some of the references that he makes. And his writing is really gorgeous. It packs a punch, that's for sure. So I was never bored reading this book. I loved it. The essays were a wide variety of topics, and I really just can't say enough good things about it. So if you haven't read Anthony Bourdain and you have any interest in food writing, you should definitely give Medium Raw a go. Of course, I would recommend any of his books that I've read. Kitchen Confidential or A Cook's Tour were both very good as well. So if you haven't read Anthony Bourdain, let me know. If you're interested, I will talk you into it if I possibly can. And if you have any recommendations for food writing, let me know in the comments. Bye.